What's up, guys? Here we have every DreamWorks villain, and we're going to put them up against each other in this tournament to find out who the king is. DreamWorks has had a long history and have made crazy movies like Kung Fu Panda, but also Trolls. 3 Trolls movies. Let's just go. Lord Farquaad versus Trolls. Who's better? Lord Farquaad. We're not playing games. The Colonel versus this guy. The Colonel has to be one of the most uninteresting dudes I've seen. Nothing about him stuck out to me. But this father scientist from the DreamWorks Yeti movie, this is one of the worst movies they've made. Colonel. Sus Trolls versus Godfather Shark. We're gonna go with Godfather Shark. Villain from Home versus Ramses. Come on now. Here we have this child safety woman from Mr. Peabody and Sherman. Honestly, I enjoy the shallowness of the shark-tailed girl more. Not that the Peabody villain was any good anyway. Titan, this big monkey that shows up for like 10 minutes is not better than Goldilocks and the Bears. Trolls versus Boss Baby. Boss Baby. This guy's actually voiced by Mr. Nevercracker too.
How did you end up here? You know what I do to little kids who ask lots of questions about me?
Ooh, here we have Death, and it's Death. It's not even fucking close. This guy is not good. Absolute NPC villain, literally just hunting dragons. I'm sorry, guys, but it's gonna take a lot more than an accent to impress me. B-movie lawyer over these boring ass frauds from Puss in Boots. Prince Charming, he was incredible in Shrek 2. Shame that he wasn't in Shrek 3. Grandma from Madagascar versus... This guy's not Megamind, dude. This guy's Chegamine.
What the flag not?
Mr. Poopy Pants over Angry Lady. Fairy Godmother. I guess Toad over Pied Piper, who really didn't do much. Madagascar 3 over this simp. Shen, Jack, Melvin. Wow, we got the emo boy versus the corniest villain of it. Yeah, we're gonna go with the emo boy. Tai Lung, Dave, even if he's not that good, it's fucking Trolls. And then Boss Baby. This guy's not as good as the other one. I'm also pretty sure this guy's Jeff Goldblum, but I think I prefer a Big Bear. Octo Mafia henchman over this garbage can. And you know, this guy's chunky, but we gotta go with Lord Victor. We're gonna go with wannabe Gordon Ryan over these two fucks. And we're gonna go with the goddamn dog over Kung Fu Panda Force villain. Yeah, that's right. You lost to a dog with no dialogue, you fucking embarrassment. Ken versus Chicken Hitler. You know, Chicken Hitler I assume is very beloved, but Ken, he's kind of a clad, but at the same time, you gotta respect him. That scene where he realizes what the bee did, and he's like, fuck off! We're gonna go with Rumple over Ronaldo and Exterminator Dude over Humpty Dumpty. Dude, fuck Humpty Dumpty. And for the last of round 1, we're gonna go with Kai over fucking Trolls. Lord Farquaad versus Colonel. If you think it's close, fuck you. Lord Farquaad is one of Markiplier's best roles. The only thing wrong with him is that he gets swallowed by the dragon in the most embarrassing way possible. Shark Godfather versus Ramses. Yeah, I think we have to go with Ramses. But I did think Shark Godfather was funny. Titan, way too easy. And then, yeah, we have to go with Goldilocks and the Bears over Boss Baby Nevercracker. I think they visually just look too good. They're entertaining, and they have the redemption arc, which is telegraphed, but still pretty well handled. So now B-movie lawyer versus Death. This lawyer is pretty Chad. When the odds were against him, he expertly manipulated bro to sting him in his ass, and it worked. But we gotta go with Death. Prince Charming versus Chegamine. I think what this comes down to is that Prince Charming is charming. He's witty in what he does, and I think his smoothness, even when it's going wrong for him, is pretty fun to watch.
Since when do you dance?
Oh, Fiona, my dearest, if there's one thing I know, it's that love is full of surprises.
Now, Fairy Godmother versus Poopy Pants. Now we have Big Toad versus Madagascar 3 lady. This lady, she just has a goal to hunt a lion to complete her collection, but what sold me was the soundtrack. When she's about to get bombarded with bananas and she goes... Wow, you know, I just have to go with her. Now Shen versus Jack Horner. We got a fiery matchup here. As some of you know, I don't think Shen is very interesting. His whole thing is that he's a crazy guy who's told his destiny is to be defeated by a black and white guy. So he's like, I have to kill all the pandas. So he does, and then his parents ban him, and he's like, my parents only banned me because they hated me. But the sheep is like, no, they loved you. And he's like, no, I've gone too far. I'm super evil now. I gotta go shoot guys with my cannon. And also, he has zero aura. Bro gets mogged by the sheep continuously, and if you think about the plot as a whole, he accomplishes absolutely fucking nothing. Jack Horner, you know, I actually also think he's a little overpraised. I guess everybody was just blown away by the fact that he was evil for the sake of being evil, which makes him funny, but I don't think it makes him a goat. Still, I like him more than Shen. Darkness Guy versus Melvin, being completely honest, I'm gonna go with Melvin. Tai Lung versus Dave, fuck you, Dave. Big Bear versus Octopus Henchman. I think the bear comes off as more of a no-life than intimidating. I honestly like the octopus more. Lord Victor is better than goofy-ass wannabe Scar. Ken versus the dog. Wow. The dog is very fun, but Ken, I think what makes him so special is that he represents 3 branches that grow from one central idea of how far you'd go to accomplish something. What types of ideals or practical considerations you're willing to look past. Some would describe him as a myopic pragmatist, and others as a cunning person with a heart. Or maybe just someone who's willing to let go of the past for love in himself. But it's also that we get to see all this clash and topple on itself, which all culminates in he's better than the dog. Rumple versus Vincent Exterminator. I like Rumple because he's not just some power level intimidation machine, but instead a manipulative little weasel. And Vincent, he's just not that guy. And then Kai gets a freebie. If you're wondering why the empty slot, I couldn't put the Megamind 2 guys in, but that would have been useless anyway, so whatever. Oh, wow. Okay, guys, here we go. So when it comes to media directly aimed at kids or teenagers, people always tell me that I didn't understand it or I lied about it. Yes, there are objectively scenes that are placed after other scenes that are what they are, but these people don't understand that what art quote unquote is objectively does not extend to how you're supposed to interpret this or how you're supposed to feel about that or what exactly this means, whether this is justified or what emotion you're supposed to be feeling here. With Prince of Egypt, yeah, I got it. And while I have problems with the plot that I don't want to get into right now, like with a lot of this media directly aimed at kids, Prince of Egypt lacks subtext. The meaning is extremely exaggerated and it leads the characters to feel artificial. In theory, Ramses has good ideas, but in practice, I don't really feel for the character. Lord Farquaad is also a very fun guy. If you're not convinced, watch this.
Perfect.
I thought, okay, nice. Now we have some competition for Titan. As I said, Goldilocks and the Bear is not the most complex idea, but it's fun and it sticks the landing. They're gonna look really good on Titan's record. Death versus Prince Charming. Again, Prince Charming is very charming, but this time around, he wasn't charming enough. Fairy Godmother versus Madagascar 3 Lady. It's funny, we were playing with fish, but now we're with the big boys. Fairy Godmother is just levels above her. Jack Horner versus Melvin. Are you serious? Okay, Tai Lung versus... Come on, get the fuck out. Lord Victor versus Ken. I think I gotta go with... Man, I'm going Ken. Lord Victor, my man is not a Chad, okay? That's all I'm gonna say. Whereas Ken, you know, I feel like with this attention to detail, the boundary pushing creativity in the expression, the complexity in the subtle shades of meaning in the actions taken, and all that's driven forward that ramps up by the end. It's so fucking good, and I love it. I'm feeling an A on Ken. And then Rumpelstiltskin is better than Kai. Kai's boring. He wants chi and then he literally gets blown up like Electra. So I've said a lot of good things about Farquaad, but Titan's been getting layups. Titan is just such a great villain to me. He starts out as the incel nice guy and he's just absolutely hilarious. And upon getting his powers, the way his true nature is revealed is done very naturally, and his emotional conflict with Megamind is just so It's not an emotional, try not to cry conflict, but instead a purely ego-driven competitive fire that's just so badass to watch. That scene when both guys have their hearts broken and Megamind fucking riles him up and it builds up to this fight scene, it's just so good. Such a short-sightedly emotionally driven villain, and I love that. He's better than Lord Farquaad by a good amount. Holy shit. This is actually kind of tough. I want to say both these characters are very well handled and exceed their purpose in their respective movies. But I think what it's going to come down to is the fact that Death is so much more direct to his movie's protagonist. Fairy Godmother is cunning and she plays the strings, but when we're talking about villains, it's so much more impactful to see Puss in Boots have to overcome his fear and face him directly. Both characters are handled super well, but I'm going to have to give it to Death. Finally, a worthy opponent is what I wish I was saying, guys. But in reality, fuck no. And then Ken versus Rumple. Yeah, it's over, Ken bros. I'm sorry. It's been a good ride, though. We made it pretty far. Damn. We're really at that point now, huh? Damn. Okay, damn. Okay, I actually gotta think about this. Both villains, I've already praised the fuck out of, but I do have to go with Titan. Yeah, I mean, it's just too good. Death at the end of the day is simply death. And he's executed very well, but I just don't think it's as good as an intricately crafted character like Titan. I just find him to be way more interesting. Yeah, bro is not a worthy opponent. I'm sorry, Rumple. I like you, but you're not there. Tai Lung is such a perfectly crafted character. He has no shortcut like Shen, where part of his buildup is just, oh, well, he's just insane evil, you know? No, Tai Lung is a showing of how a parent, a good person at that with good intentions, can plant false promises in your head and lead you down a path of emptiness. His connection to Shifu is so powerful and his reflections to Po feel so purposeful. It's such a great rivalry between these two contrasting ideas. Titan is truthfully such an entertaining villain, and like Tai Lung, there's a lot to unpack with this place in the story. It really is the difference between a nice guy and a good person. But Kung Fu Panda, it's a movie that I do feel comfortable calling a masterpiece. I think it's DreamWorks' best. It's a movie where in what it sets out to do, it does so greatly, and every little detail feels so purposeful. Tai Lung is an essential part of this whole, and that's just not a feeling I get watching Titan. Truthfully, there are days where I would pick Titan, but I feel like the right thing to do would be to pick Tai Lung.
Bro, you think you're the king? I'm the king.